recording has begun. Yeah, now we
There
can
it
be.
is. Okay.
Yeah, Arunji, all yours.
So we have another session of human library. It has not always been human library. Sometimes we had some very professional, very defined topics, but lately it has been, I mean, we have been sharing our experiences. Last time we had, what you call, traveler. He talked about some spiritual experiences of his. Anupam is not there today. We have had sessions of this kind from Rakesh and some others. Dr. Jha is trying to join in. Probably he'll join in. So let's come back to Rajeev today. He was a student of mine, but I learned more from him. It so happened that I decided, I mean, we had a two-room house in Ranchi. Actually, 3-room, one was given on rent. So two rooms, 6 sisters and brothers and my mother. And we invited him, Rajeev, and 2 more Rajeev, right? To come and
Yes.
stay with my family. They had some issues, one issue or the other, but Rajeev became a family member since then. And those who refer to our discussions in learning together, I had told them that with Rajeev, we had 2 more. I didn't have the students staying in my house. I was teaching them. Both of them went to IIT. And by
Yeah.
sheer chance, a couple of months back, I met them and they told me that Rajeev told me that they were friends, and had also written that I did not invite them particularly to take a session, human library session. And I did for Rajeev because during our meeting, maybe a couple of weeks back, when he just turned out in a house after 50 years or so,
Hmm.
and I asked him to share the journey after he left my house. And it was so motivating and inspiring, emotional also,
It was very.
that I requested him to share the part of the journey with all of us. So here we have Rajeev, and Rajeev, it's all yours. All of us know how we conduct the session. So when Rajeev starts speaking, we shall all put off our cameras and mics. So the concentration is only on Rajeev. And once he finishes, then we can all put it on. We can ask questions. We can share our experiences. So Rajeev, it's all over to you.
Thank you very much.
Rajeev
And
Banerjee.
thank you, sir. And thank you for this amazing opportunity. I did not start my life with a lot of accomplishments, but I did gather a few here and there along the way. And I know I've seen some of the names. Many names seem to be familiar to me in this group. That could be because I'm from Ranchi as well. That is, where I kind of identify with. And many of you seem to be from Ranchi as well. Some of you may have been to the same educational institutions that I have been through. So I went to St. Xavier School in Ranchi. My class 10 examination was 1983. And then I'm dating myself, but that's all right. I'm an old man. And then I went to DAV, Jawahar Vidya Mandir. I did my class 12 there. That's where I met Venkat, the other gentleman that Arun Bhaiya was talking about. And thereafter, I started my, further studies, BSc in St. Xavier's College, Ranchi. And then, I will talk about the rest of what happened in a minute. But I wanted to acknowledge that I did see some of the names, and they felt very, very familiar to me because maybe I have met some of you or some of the others that have not joined yet, either in Ranchi or through various other connections. Now, really lost connections because it's been many, many years since I've been in Ranchi. So let me come to my association with Arun Bhaiya. So as I was going through my class 12 examinations back in the day, Arun Bhaiya had just started, and many of you may or may not know about Arun Bhaiya's background and how he was. He had to cut short some of his, early ambitions and then restart them. And he was going through a very, very tough time, in my opinion, at that time. That's my own opinion. It's not Arun Bhaiya's. I'm not speaking for him. And I really, really admired Arun Bhaiya. I still do, and I will do for the rest of my life, I think. And like he said, he invited me to live with him and his family, which is so amazing. But, early on in life, my accomplishments, I almost started out with zero accomplishments. And I come from a time, and, some of the youngsters, we just talked to Kaushalya, and we also talked to Pankaj, young people. You may not know, or you may know, I don't know. Back in the day, there were very few career options and very few colleges that you could go to. And, the career options were you become an engineer or you become a doctor. Law was also not that, not that coveted back then. Now it is. Or you become a general gadha, which you also ran average or below average person. So my starting was exactly like that. I was a gadha, below average, or so I thought at least at that point. And I have some theories around that too. And I think Arun Bhaiya has put in a lot of effort in that area, and really kudos to him. Because what happens when you are a young man or a young woman in India is, someone needs to show you how to hold the ropes. And once that happens, you kind of find yourself and move on, right? And that happened with me to a certain degree, and I probably was not able to grasp it enough. So I ended up, starting a BSc instead of, I wanted to be an engineer, and I thought back then, and I still think very much inside my heart that I would have made a very good engineer. And I'm bragging right now, but again, take it with a pinch of salt, right? What I realize now is that the way we pick people for an engineering career is probably slightly flawed. And I may be wrong, but that's my theory. I'm just putting it forward. And because I know in my heart that I would have made a very good engineer in life, I know I have engineering skills that I apply every day. So anyway, that's how it started out. I was studying in St. Xavier's College. I was doing my BSc there. And my parents, middle-class parents with middle-class jobs, my father had to move to Durgapur at that time. And my sister was studying in Ranchi Women's College, and I was in St. Xavier's College. And, I was a young man starting out in life. I had uh, I had some propensity for being, naughty and stuff like that. So when my parents moved to Durgapur, they let my sister continue in Ranchi Women's College, but they thought that if they left me behind in Ranchi, I probably would get badly spoiled. So they took me to Durgapur, and the first year in Durgapur, I continued to, my father thought that, I should continue to pursue the competitive examinations and try to get into an engineering college. So I didn't do anything for 1 year. And then they put me into a local college, Triveni Devi Bhalotia College in Raniganj. It was very interesting, like I told you, I went to St. Xavier School in Ranchi. So I had a fairly privileged beginning But Triveni Devi Bhalotia College in Raniganj kind of opened my eyes to the rest of the world. And I realized that people come from various backgrounds, various diverse backgrounds, which was very different from me. And at that point, I was also kind of watching my peers from my school and college, Ranchi days, starting to do well already. And that kind of opened my mind up to a certain very interesting idea that I need to organize my life, because if I did not organize my life, I'm just bumbling through things. And, the closest analogy that I can think of, my story is certainly not a sad story. I'm not trying to tell you a sad story. It's just a real life thing. And if there is an analogy, it's like how water travels. I know that, water typically has some potential. It is looking for opportunities, and then it rolls on, right? And it makes its own course. That's if I were to define how I went through life, that's what it is. Certainly not the most difficult life, certainly not a sad story, and certainly not something to brag about either. So going through Triveni Devi Bhalotia College, I went through my BSc exam and passed my BSc exam. Now I had a degree. I had a graduate degree and or an undergraduate degree. Really, that's how they call it in the West. So I had an undergraduate degree, and by that time, my parents moved to our ancestral home in Kolkata. And so I moved back with them again to Kolkata. And my father was about retirement age, and he was doing some odd consulting here and there. My father didn't have a lot of money. I mean, we were living in the ancestral home that was built by my grandfather. And and I could see the dwindling resources of my father, my parents, basically, my father and my mother. My mother was a fantastic housewife. Unfortunately, she passed about, the same time that I went to meet with Arun Bhaiya about 10, 15 days back. But she was a fantastic housewife. She's been a fantastic mother. She has been my father. He was a fantastic father. No complaints about them. But they didn't have a whole lot of resources. So here I am in Kolkata, um, you know, trying various things. I have this graduate degree, which is, as many of you might know, of no use. You can't do anything with that graduate degree. Nobody's going to hire you. I did get, I've always been able to speak better than average. So I would get a few jobs, but they were not well-paying jobs. They were hard work, meaning, you would have to, do sales jobs, etc. That I did not know whether I was made for sales and so on. So I was doing odds and ends, doing this and that. My father also put me into a typing school. And I would, I was diligently doing it, old typewriter, ASDFG and whatever not, and, trying to qualify as a clerk perhaps somewhere if someone would give me a job and so on. So that continued. And there was this guy, and I know it's a long story, folks. I hope I'm not boring anybody, but I'm going to continue. If you feel that I'm meandering around, then just raise your hand. We can stop and take questions, etc. So there was this guy, a friend of mine, who used to live across the, thank you, sir, who used to live across the lane from us. His name was Bappa, a very Bengali name. And Bappa was also like me. I mean, he had a graduate degree. I told you I went to St. Xavier School. He went to a local Bangla school in Kolkata. So there was a slight difference in our upbringings, but we were pretty much the same, young men with nothing going on. and no knowledge of the future either. So one day I was coming back from my typing lessons, and I saw Bappa getting down from a rickshaw, a pedal rickshaw, not an auto rickshaw, pedal rickshaw. And I was like, wow, this guy can afford a rickshaw. I mean, I used to walk everywhere or take a bus if it were longer. And I was like, wow, I mean, he must be doing something that I don't know. So I asked him, কি করতে, কোথায় গিয়েছিলিস? Where did you go? And he said, computer করতে গিয়েছিলাম. So that's a very Bangla way of kind of pronouncing computer. He said, computer করতে গিয়েছিলাম. And I'm like, computer? What can you do with a computer? I mean, this was back in the late 80s, and I was not that savvy at all back then. So I was like, what do you do with a computer? And he explained to me that, whatever I was doing in the typing school, he was doing on a word processor. I did not know what a word processor was back then. He told me that, that is where the world is going, blah, blah, and all that. And it kind of, tickled me. And I started thinking that, well, maybe there is something to it. Maybe I should look into it. So I went with him to look at his institute. It was a small institute, really tiny place with air conditioning. That was important because I was new to air conditioning. Wherever there was air conditioning, it would feel luxury and very premium to me. And when I went in, I was like, wow! And we had to take our shoes off. So he went into a little tiny booth where there was a computer. He sat down and he started his typing. And then I had to leave because I was a visitor. I couldn't be there for long. And then on my way back, when I was walking back, I thought, wow, I mean, this guy, we are similar to each other, but this guy already has kind of identified what a future might be, etc. And then I started researching. And back then, researching was not Google or, most of you that are similar to my age will know. Back then, researching was you read newspapers or you go to the library and find things, right? So thankfully, I was in a big city, Kolkata, and there were libraries that you didn't have to pay for. You could actually walk in. The good part was that, if I was at home, and we have a lot of extended family in Kolkata, in the place where my ancestral home is. All I was doing is getting ration for somebody, or repairing somebody's bicycle or painting their windows. And it was really demeaning to me that, maybe this is my life. This is what I'm going to do. So going to the library, going to the National Library, gave me a sense of pride. I would walk into the National Library as if it was my, place to be. I would sit down on a, grand table, ask for a book, read it, etc. So, and what I realized at that point is that I have to get organized. I would write things down. Anything that I found interesting, I had this thick book or a notebook that I would write everything down. And that is probably when the switch flipped in my head that, I need to organize myself and I have to participate in my own rescue. No one can pull me out of a hole that I'm in. I have to pull myself out of the hole that I have put myself in. And the more I read, the more I, took notes. I would even, when people, said something on the radio or, on the shared television, community television that we would see in one of the, neighbor's house. I would have my notebook with me. I would write down those words and then look them up later on to see, what it means. I'm sure many people do that, and that's nothing great. Everybody that's successful actually probably does that inherently, but it wasn't inherent to me. It occurred to me at this age or that age in my life. And then I realized that there's a little more to computers than what Bappa had told me. I mean, it was fantastic that Bappa opened my eyes to it. And Bappa was also probably doing other things, other research, etc. So then I started figuring out that you can learn logic, you can learn to write programs so you can make computers work the way they want. And I was interested in graphics. I was interested in basic logic, etc. And I wasn't sure whether I would be any good in that, but it was certainly a way forward. Now, coming back to my parents very quickly, by this point, my father had completely retired. He had just married off my sister. And as you know, Bengali parents, Indian parents in general, one of their big aspirations is to marry their daughters off well and get them settled and make sure that they make it as grand as their finances would afford, and then they figure out whatever happens with the family will happen later. So they spent a lot of money in doing that. We were very proud of our sister. She's a little older than me, very similar to age. So we got her married, and all of that happened. And by that time, my father almost had nothing. We had the house. He had enough so we could have, a decent meal every day, but not much beyond that. So I don't know what happened in his head. He told me that, look, you have to get something. You have to start something. You have to kickstart your life because, just roaming about the streets with this degree that you have is not going to work out. You have to figure out what you want to do in life. And at that point, he gave me 10,000 rupees. And he said, this is all I can afford, and I can give you this 10,000 rupees. Make something out of it and go do something. And I'm really glad that, he let me decide what I wanted to do. And he gave me his last 10,000 rupees. So this is very emotional for me. So if I break down, please pardon me. So he gave that to me, and I had that money in my pocket as a young man. In those days, 10,000 rupees was actually a big amount, if you think. I would actually roam the streets with those 10,000 rupees. And then I figured I used to see these big hoardings in Kolkata for NIIT, which is the National Institute of Information Technology. It's not to be confused with NIT, the regional engineering colleges. It was somewhere where you could learn computer programming. Now, I was so misinformed. I mean, it's like, a young man, didn't have much guidance from anyone. I was just roaming the streets in Kolkata. I was looking for NIIT because, I had seen all these hoardings, but I couldn't find NIIT. I did not know how to find NIIT back then. And I found another institute called Lakhotia Computers in Kolkata. And I went, talked to them. They took an exam. They took an aptitude test. And, all of these places, the tests were fairly phony. All they wanted was your money. So they said, yeah, go ahead, sir.
No, I remember just, I think one of the founders of Lakhotia was my ex-friend, means long time old friend.
Okay, good. Good to know that. So again, I mean, nothing against Lakhotia, by the way. I mean, I'm just saying that, their test was just to kind of get your money so that you would get in. I was walking to Lakhotia that day, thinking that I would actually give these 10,000 rupees and get into Lakhotia Computers and see where it took me. So while I was walking there, my mind was I wanted to go to NIIT. And here comes, I mean, this twist of life. this class friend of mine from Triveni Devi Bhalotia College walking down the street with an NIIT folder in his hand. So we exchanged some niceties, and then I asked him, where are you going? He said, আমি তো এই লাখোটিয়া এই NIIT তে কোর্স করছি, which means I'm doing a course at an IIT. I think many of you might actually understand a little bit of Bengali, but I'll translate if I get into Bengali. So this was great. I said, where is an IIT? He said, just across the street. And so he took me there and went to an IIT. They had the same apparatus. They took an examination, and immediately they said, oh, you have great marks and you're fantastic. And I knew how fantastic I was because, obviously, like I told you, I was a gadha. So I knew that, this was basically set up to look fantastic. So anyway, I told them that, I would like to join. It was a postgraduate systems management diploma, a big name for a computer programming class. They had in their course, they had logic, they had COBOL programming, they had Unix, and they had C programming. So that was the entire course. And I had no knowledge of what logic was, very basic understanding of logic, no knowledge of what COBOL was. The first time I heard COBOL was during that exam, during that lady telling me. C was very far away from me. Unix, obviously, I had no idea. But she told me, and I was like, okay, fine. Let's give it a shot. And then when I asked how much is the course, she said 11,000. And my heart sank because all I had was 10,000, right? I didn't have the extra 1,000. So I told her that, can you hold my place for a day because I have to go, I have to go do something. I was too embarrassed to tell her that I don't have the money. So I went back and I told my father that, I took an exam and this is what happened. So he coughed up another 1,000 rupees for me. And the next day I went in and I got into the course. And that day, was like the day I met Arun Bhaiya. It changed my life. What I realized was that I could absolutely do this. There was this guy that came in, not much older than me. He was our coordinator, and he started flow charting. And he said, look, this is how you do flow charts. And a flow chart is the basis of logic. And then, he started doing stuff on the board, and it was clicking immediately. And I immediately realized that this is something that I can do. I can certainly do this. And I may even be good at it. And very soon I realized that, I was at the top of the class, which had never happened in my life, by the way, because, I was always in the middle of the class, if not the bottom a few of the class all my life. And here I was, and, other people would turn to me and say, I want to be your partner in the labs. Can you help me with this? And so on. And this was brand new to me. I would go home and spend hours and hours on learning flow charting, and then we moved to COBOL programming, and immediately, the word that Arun Bhaiya used, the hero of the day. I'm certainly not the hero, but I felt like that, and I would certainly feel, wow, this is a different world. Today, I have woken up in a place where it's completely different from where I was yesterday. And as we were going through this, I had finished about more than 6 months, about 8 months of the course. It was a 18-month course. And about 8 months into it, I was a a COBOL programmer, and I was at the top of my class. And there was this, notice on the notice board in an IIT on Kemak Street in Kolkata, saying that they needed one trainee in DCM data products that could write COBOL programs. But they needed to have COBOL experience, blah, blah. They would work for LIC and so on and so forth. So I didn't have any experience, but by that time I was brash and confident and all of that. So I was going there, and there was this other young lady, Samira Zubedi, a friend of mine from the class. She and I were almost head to head at the top of the class. So I asked Samira if she would come along with me and we could both interview for this position. So when we went there to DCM Data Products, they looked at our resumes, and the first thing that we were told is, you have no experience. We are looking for people that have actually done commercial COBOL programming. So, you won't be selected. So we were quite dejected and we were about to go. But again, the person that was actually doing the screening had a change of heart. And she said, well, I mean, if you like, you can sit in a test that we will actually conduct for everybody, and then we will see what happens. So we sat down for that test, both of us. And at the end, we both got selected and no one else got selected. So they were looking for one person. They selected the two of us. And I happened to ask the interviewer at the end, when they said, yes, you can come from tomorrow and it'll be a 6-month project and so on and so forth. I asked, what happened? Why did you choose us? So his response was that, no one in the test was able to complete the COBOL program. You and Samira were the two people that completed the COBOL program. And by the way, you guys also put flowcharts before your program. So you wrote the flowchart and completed the program. So there was no way that we could not hire you. And there was no one else that we could hire from the... So again, another peak at that point. And Samira she was shy and, just like all young ladies are. She did not want to go to that interview, but she thanked me a lot that, I took her along and we both started working. And by the time I finished in IIT, we had enough stipend money that I was able to, this is, I had enough stipend money to return the 11,000 of, give me a second. When I was talking to Arun Bhaiya, I had promised that I wouldn't break down like this to myself, but I was able to return that 11,000 back to my dad. So and it kind of turned my life from that point. So the DCM data products, internship was a great turning point, just like Arun Bhaiya. Another very important milestone in my life. After that, that was a 6-month internship, 6-7-month internship, and I was done with it. And I had finished with an IIT by the time I came out of DCM data products as well as in IIT. We got a lot of exposure. We were doing a very important program for DCM data products. It was the policy servicing system for LIC. We got to go to various places, various LIC locations, and implement what we had done. My first time traveling in a train paid by somebody else, not by my father or myself. I didn't have any money before that, so not paid by my father, but paid by someone else. So all of these experiences kind of started building up for me. Then now the DCM data products work was done. and NIT was done. Now it was my opportunity to look for. Now I was looking for a job as a confident young man that knew what they were doing. So uh, I was always a, there was, like I said, I mean, it's like water. I did have some potential, and I was always looking for opportunities to meander out and get, to a slightly better place. So I started looking for jobs, and a friend of mine, a very good friend of mine, she lives in England right now. She told me that, did you know that Hindustan Motors was looking for programmers, but their primary requirement is that you have to be an engineer. And then I thought, okay, I'm not an engineer, but I'm a good programmer. They're looking for a programmer. Let me go and give it a shot. And I also learned something, that I did not have anything to lose. The worst thing that could happen to me is they would say, nahi lenge tumko. That's all that could happen. So what's the problem? Let me give it a shot. So I went to Hindustan Motors, and there was this. Hindustan Motors is divided into the main computing center and all the departments that actually run their own computing, but depend on the main computing center for help and everything. So there was this guy called Mr. Kaur, Debranjan Kaur or Debraj Kaur, somebody. He was the head of the main computing center. They used to call it IBM in Hindustan Motors. And this particular job was for the spare parts department. So I went to the interview, and the general manager of spare parts was a gentleman called Burman, Mr. Burman, Harish Burman. And the head of IBM in as they called it IBM, because the main computer they used, the mainframe was an IBM. So Mr. Kaur was there, and somehow at the end, I got selected. And later I was told by Mr. Burman that you got this job. This job was for a graduate engineer. But there's something in you that struck me. And no one else in the panel was standing up for you. But I thought that I would give you a chance. This is much later when I really became good friends with Mr. Burman when he told me this. He didn't tell me up front. And he said that I decided to put my faith in you, and look what we have done. And I'll tell you what we did there. So when I went in there, and I was like on top of the world. I'm not an engineer, but I have a graduate engineer job in one of the biggest manufacturing companies in India back then, Hindustan Motors. Who doesn't know Hindustan Motors? And I would walk into the factory every day in the morning. I mean, it was a big commute for me. I would wake up at 5 o'clock, take the 5:45 bus from Behala to Outram Ghat, take a ferry across the Hooghly River, then take the train to Hindustan Motors, and then go there. And as I would walk from the main gate to the spare parts, I would every day have this imposter syndrome. I would think, oh my God, somebody will find out that I'm not capable. I'm not a graduate engineer, yet I'm doing this graduate trainee job. It was a very strange combination of confidence build and an imposter syndrome, both put together. And I would tell myself that, look, I mean, I have this job because somebody has faith in me, and that's the reason I have it. So when I went to Hindustan Motors, the first day, what I found was they had two computers in the spare parts department. And, there was another gentleman, my senior in the department. And all they were doing is to, PowerPoint was not a thing back then. There was something called Howard Graphics. So they would do two graphs every week and send it to Mr. Burman, which showed what the department's status was in terms of inventory. That's it. That's all they would do. And there were these bank of typists that would be writing challans. And how it worked was, I mean, and this is a little boring sidebar, conversation, but let me kind of make my point. What they would do is they would go to the store, which was just behind the offices of the spare parts department, find out how much material they have. They would come back, and based on the clerk's understanding of what the store has and their kind of corrupt ideas with the dealers, they would actually figure out what dealer could get what material, and they would type challans for them. And Mr. Burman had a huge problem because all of these people, all the dealers would actually pay some bribes on the side and get all the high moving items or, the important items on their challans. And, there's rampant corruption going on. And also the typists, they were like, they would come at 8 o'clock. 8 o'clock was the time when we started work. They would come at 8 o'clock, and 4 o'clock, everybody was out the door. And 8 o'clock, when they came in, they would type the word TO in the challan, and then say, now, I have to take a break, go, drink some tea and come back. So they were really lazy people that was actually dragging the whole thing down. And I was sitting here in an air-conditioned office with two computers, and I thought, why don't I use what I know and figure things out? So the first order of business was that I saw that every day the plant would actually send a computer sheet of all the inventory that they had passed on to spare parts. So I went and talked to the plant and said, well, can you send me an electronic copy of this? So I know what the inventory is. I mean, nobody needs to go out to the store and find out what the inventory is. Then I talked to the IBM folks and said, well, when you do a challan and these challans are sent back to you, what do your guys do? It seems that they would actually manually, physically, again, type those challans in to the mainframe and manage the inventory in that. So I found a potential in between, saying that, well, I know what the who the dealers are. That's already in the dealer registry. I knew who what inventory is coming in because I could get it from, and I knew that the information, the challan information, would be going back to IBM. So I started putting these things together on a flowchart again, back to my basics. And I started getting information, and then I got one of the younger typists who was really also, just like me, a young man, wanted to do better in life. I said, well, you and I will sit down and put the dealer registry onto the computer so that we know who the dealers are. And there were hundreds of dealers that Hindustan Motors had, even maybe thousands. So the two of us, we would stay back after work and type in the dealers into a dealer master. We already had the inventory. We had a pipeline back to IBM, and I got IBM. So the funny part was the challans and the invoices were being typewritten on pre-printed stationery by the clerks, and then they were again, printed out on pre-printed stationery in IBM or the central computing. So I made friends with them and got a bunch of computer stationery from the main office. And now I put all of these together, and that one guy, Ashok, the typist, and me were managing the whole thing. We knew what the inventory was. We knew what dealers were asking for. We knew how to create. So all Ashok was doing was putting a part number and a dealer number, and the rest obviously, as you guys know, the computer was doing the rest. And we were churning out, instead of 20 challans a day, we were churning out hundreds of challans a day. The entire complexion of the spare parts department started changing. And that is when Burman told me that story that, I did see something in you. And that's the reason I picked you, and you were not picked by the rest of the folks. So and now this is fantastic, and I was doing it because I was bored. I had nothing to do. I was getting paid. I was coming here every day. I had so much time. And as a young man, what do you do? I mean, you either loiter on the streets, go see movies, or sit down and do stuff. That is what I did. And thanks to Ashok, another cornerstone in my life, who kind of worked with me. And I've lost touch with Ashok. I want to get in touch with him. The two of us kind of changed the complexion of. Now, another thing happened at this point. So I found a notice on the notice board in the graduate, in the engineers canteen. So Hindustan Motors is a very hierarchical thing. Your engineers canteen, an executive canteen, a workers canteen, all of that. I mean, as hierarchical as you can think of. So in the engineers canteen, there was this notice saying that Mr. Santanam, who was the CEO of Hindustan Motors, was actually looking for an executive assistant. And I was the lowest M rank that there was. I think M started from 0 and it went to, I think, 10, and then it became E1, E2, E3. So I was probably at M0, and the and the requirement said that you had to be an M6 to even apply. So I put in an application, and all my peers, all my friends, all the other engineers, actual engineers, not pretend engineers like me, all the actual engineers, they laughed at me, saying that तुमको दिमाग खराब हो गया क्या? M6 मांग रहा है, तुम तो M0 है, तुमसे क्या होगा? So I said, what am I going to lose? Let me put it in. And, I think, I'm really grateful to my parents to have sent me to St. Xavier School. St. Xavier School gave me two things. It gave me basic confidence. It taught me how to speak in English. And as many of you will know, because, we are all of Indian origin, speaking in English in India has over the years, very, very unfortunately, become a qualification in itself. And I could speak very well, and I was confident. And I now had a small body of work behind me that I could actually brag about. So I went to the first interview, and actually the person that was interviewing me was a M6. And he said, "Do you realize that they said this needs to be M6?" I said, "Yeah. I mean, if you want to disqualify me for that, then be my guest. But I just wanted to give it a shot." So I went through the first interview. He said, "Okay, I'm going to pass you to the next set of people. Let's see what happens." And then every interview I'm going through, there are many, many layers of interviews. And finally, I find myself among three people with a set of general managers from Hindustan Motors. So I'm almost at the final round of interviews with, getting this job. And I'm like, wow, how could this happen? Because, this was supposed to be an M6. Now it has moved on. And I obviously related my story, the work that I have done, and people by that time had already figured out what Hindustan Motor Spare Parts was doing, very different from the rest of the departments. All the other departments were a little bit envious of spare parts because we were doing good business, we were making money, and Mr. Santanam had his eyes on the spare parts department. All of that, kind of, it takes a village to kind of bring up a child, and that whole village kind of was kind of bringing me up, in my opinion. So I was talking to these people, these general managers, and then one of them, and actually Mr. Burman was part of that. And I had told Mr. Burman that I was applying for the job, and he thought, isko to kabhi nahi milega, M6 मांग रहा है, तो ठीक है, बच्चा है, जाने देते हैं. So, if you don't understand Hindi, what it means is he thought, well, let him give it a shot. I mean, let's see what happens. He's just a youngster trying his luck. But when we came to that interview, he was a little bit shocked. And one of the gentlemen asked me, do you know that if you are the executive assistant for Mr. Santanam, you will have to deal with general managers all the time. And do you feel comfortable doing that? And my answer, I think what sealed the deal was that, you guys are all general managers, but what is the trouble that you are facing right now in communicating with me? And he smiled and he didn't say anything. And then I met Mr. Santanam. I was the final candidate, and Mr. Santanam said that you have to work very hard. This is a very important job. This can actually catapult you, or it can destroy you. And I was like, kya destroy karega? Triveni Devi Bhalotia is my background. Humko और क्या destroy कोई कर सकता है? So I shook his hand and I said, I'm definitely going to do this for you. But when I came back to spare parts and talked to Mr. Burman about it, Mr. Burman said that, I know you are fit for that job and I know you're fit for many other things. But if you leave me right now, everything that you've put together, because we do not have a succession as yet, will fall and break. And it will be very unfortunate. While I don't want to stop you, I also don't want this to completely, disintegrate, which he was right about. And at that point, I took the moral decision and I said, that's fine, sir. I will stay back with, I will not take this job. And I went and talked to Mr. Santanam and explained to him why I was not taking the job. And but I told Mr. Burman that, look, this can only go on for another year because I have my ambitions and I have to pursue them. By this time, I was, very confident. I was not the person that was walking the streets, etc. And Mr. Burman agreed. And, I hired another person that would actually continue on with, I tried to train him as best as I could. And then, I got a job with a startup company, 5 people in the company. It was called UBEST, Usha Beltron Electronics and Software Technologies. It was financed by the Jhawars, the Usha Martin guys. So my father used to work for Usha Martin back in the day. He was very well known to the Jhawars. So he put in a kind word for me. And Mr. Jhawar put in a kind word. And all of that, and the little work that I had done, all of that kind of got me into the job. And then I told Mr. Burman that I was leaving. He was very happy for me, and we moved on. I've never burned any bridges in my life, or so I think at least. Then when I went in there, I realized that this was a completely different ball game. We were sitting on boxes and on packing boxes and old tables, and 5 people trying to hire new people, so immediately I realized that I was not a programmer anymore. I was procuring things, I was hiring people, I was looking at applications. It was a complete new paradigm for me. But what that did was, I mean, it was also put me into the forefront. I mean, back then, uh, I hadn't heard of the word startup, but this was genuinely a startup. 5 people. We were hiring new people. We didn't have computers. We were buying computers. And Mr. Basant Jhawar, who used to be the chairman of Usha Martin back then, he connected us with Singapore Telecom and what's that? The Malaysian Telecom. And I was asked to go to Singapore. Just imagine, boy from Ranchi, hadn't traveled in a AC first class train ever, on a plane to Singapore. And then I went, I sat down with Singapore Telecom, and imposter syndrome would come back to me all the time. I was like, am I even fit for this? Am I this, huge, 30-story building? I'm sitting on the 20th floor. I can see all of Singapore from the, there's this little boy in me, and also this excitement. So what we were doing, I mean, now the story has shifted quite a bit. So what we were doing at this point was we were trying to help the telecommunications industry that was just budding at that time in India. Usha Martin Telecom, Airtel, there was Srinivas Telecom in the Chennai, in the Madras, not Madras, in the Tamil Nadu circle, and so on. So we were working with these people, and Singapore Telecom had a billing system and something called a mediation system. If you're not into telecoms, mediation is a back office system that connects with the telecommunication switches and automatically gathers call information, CDRs and other information, so that billing can be done. So I immediately started identifying that there is a lot of potential here, or it kind of occurred to me that there is a lot of potential here. We should be looking at this and moving forward. So we were just selling Singapore Telecom's billing and mediation system to the various circles of telecommunication in India, mobile telecommunication back then in India. So we would take it to the SkyCell, which was the Madras circle, to Srinivas Telecom, which was the Tamil Nadu circle, to Bharti Telecom, etc. And while doing that, I started doing the same thing that I had done in Hindustan Motors. I started putting flow charts. I started putting as to what a billing system really is and what a mediation system really is. And very soon, what we did was, my then boss, this guy, another very influential person in my life, Amitabh Datta, I told him that, look, I mean, we should actually create a billing system and a mediation system ourselves. And, like has happened many, many times in my life, many people in the industry laughed at us, saying that, you guys, you don't know, ये कोई $1-2 का, $1-2 का system नहीं है. It'll sell for hundreds of thousands of dollars, and you think you can do it? We said, कर क्या रहे हैं? We have these people that we have hired. ये बच्चे बैठे हुए हैं हमारे यहाँ, and they're doing nothing. Let me put together this program. While we are selling Singapore Telecom system, let's create a program let's create these applications on the side. So we create a very rudimentary billing system and a very rudimentary mediation system that could gather, switch data. And our first customer was in Bangladesh, Pacific Bangladesh Telecom. We went and showed them the Singapore Telecom system, and we showed them our system. And Pacific Bangladesh did not have the money. So we were selling, at that point, I think, the Singapore Telecom system, which was an established system, for about $250,000. And we said that we will sell our system to you for $10,000. So they were our first customer. We had no idea how to, implement a mediation system. And it so happened that prior to this, Pacific Bangladesh Telecom in Dhaka was actually reading tape from their telecommunication switches, and they had lost some money, which we ran through their Motorola switch and identified which tape they had missed and why they had lost money the last month. Our credibility went through the roof. Immediately, we implemented our mediation system and our billing system. And all of a sudden, we had arrived. We were still selling the Singapore Telecom system, or trying to sell it in various places. But now we had already an established. Then a very, very interesting thing happened. It's a very brag point for me. We were in Delhi, and we were talking to Bharti Telecom about selling Singapore Telecom's billing system and mediation system to them. And, Mr. Sunil Mittal, Today, Mr. Sunil Mittal is untouchable. You can't, someone like me would not get an appointment with him, I guess. But Sunil Mittal sat across the table from me and said, दिल्ली में तो तुमको नहीं देंगे भाई क्योंकि हमारे पास already we have a billing system from wherever America, Europe, wherever. I have a small circle in Shimla. तुम्हारा billing चलेगा वहाँ? And the brash, overconfident me, I said, "Sir, चला के दिखाएंगे." And he gave us that opportunity. So what we did in Bangladesh, we did in Shimla as well. So there was two feathers in our cap, and we did not look back from that. We then went to SkyCell in Madras. We went to Srinivas Telecom in the Tamil Nadu circle. We had this mediation system and this homegrown, which I was the product owner, product manager, father of whatever you want to call it, of the product. We started selling it there. Then we went all across Southeast Asia, in Africa, many places in Africa where, we would target, I mean, we were very bad that way. We would target all the small telecommunications operators who didn't have the money to buy the big systems. And slowly our system now we have background, right? Pacific Bangladesh Telecom, Bharti Telecom, SkyCell, Srinivas Telcom, and all that. So we started selling this system in various places. And, my personal brand equity with the Jhawars, with Usha Martin, etc., went through the roof. And, I was like, मैं तो अमिताभ बच्चन हूँ. That's how brash I became, frankly. And I know, I mean, it sounds very, very bad on my part to say this, but I'm just being very honest as to how I felt in my heart at that time. Then we started going to Eastern Europe and the Eastern Bloc countries. We first sold our system to Tashkent, to Uzbek Telecom. And then we started gathering a little more ambition, and we started selling in some of the Eastern Bloc countries as well. At this point, and you have to see why people are chairmen of large industries, etc. One day, Mr. Basan Chawar called Amitabh Datta, not me, Amitabh Datta, to his office and say, "तुम लोग ये सब बेच रहे हो, इतना पैसा आ रहा है. The business is actually in America. Why don't you guys go to America and try selling there?" So America to humko, we've only seen America in movies, right? Hollywood movies, Bruce Willis and other people. So वो सब तो देखा नहीं हमने. So we said, कैसे जाएंगे? How do we break in? तो जैसे एक उज़्बेकिस्तान में break in किया, जैसे अफ्रीका में break in किया. So we did not know what to do. And he took a very bold step. He said, "Well, I am going to help you. I'm going to hire a team in the US before you even go there." So he hired a CEO of a new company called Ushacom. You best say it turned into Ushacom. And he said, "I'm going to hire a CEO in America, and I'm going to let him hire a team." So the CEO, he is called, he's a very well-known industry figure, Ole Kilgore. And he hired a set of people, 3 executive vice presidents, a CFO, and so on, and a number of salespeople. And they started out in the US. And, by that time, Basan Jhawar had spent that money on hiring these people. So he was putting a lot of pressure on them. And a year passed, and these guys had not done anything, just big salaries, but no sales. Nothing had happened. So Ole Kilgore came to India, and it just providence. He happened to be in Kolkata when I was actually going to make a presentation to Thai telephones in Thailand. Or it was Bangkok telephones. I can't remember. It was in Thailand. And he said, "Can I come with you?" And I said, "Yeah, of course, sir. I mean, you're the CEO. I mean, what could I say? He's the CEO of the company." So I said, "Of course." And the two of us went there. I was very much under pressure. And by the end of that, so I went there. I had already created that sales opportunity. I identified how the sale would happen. I was the technical demo person, so I demoed the system to them. I, I was asked questions about the problems that they were facing and how we had solved those problems. Because, I've been a project manager in Bharti Telecom. I've been a project manager, implementation manager in SkyCell. So I know all the problems that these guys are having, right? I was the implementation guy in Pacific Bangladesh and in Africa and so on. So I knew the process in and out. And the application, I was the chief architect of the application. So, there isn't anybody else that knows about the product, knows about and I did not think much about it. And what that transcribed into was huge sales. So we not only signed that contract that day, it was Ole's first contract for Ushacom, along with me. So when we came back to Kolkata on the way back, he and I sat next to each other, and he said, "Will you come to the US and do what you did for Thai Telecom for at least a few customers?" I said, "I'll be very honored to do that." I immediately went back and, got a US visa stamped. We had a very good travel there. They managed a US visa for me. And within a week, I was actually, not a week, I think within a month, I was flying to the United States, to Portland, Oregon, Hollywood. It was, so another turn in my career. Now I am in the US, and I flew into Washington D.C., where I live right now. And as we were flying in, I saw Washington D.C. Then we flew from Washington. I flew from Washington D.C. to Portland, Oregon, where the headquarters was. And then lots of excitement. I'm super excited at that point. What happened was, their salespeople had identified about 6 or 7 huge opportunities that they had brought very close, but nobody was able to close these opportunities. And as luck would have it, in that first 6 months, we closed all those. Out of 7, I think we closed 5 of those opportunities. And what transcribed from there was, I was on a business visa, so I had to go back home. I told Ole, and Ole had become a very good, he's a lifelong friend. We go fishing together, and now, we are at a different level with each other. He asked me that, would you consider moving here? And I had just had a baby at that time. And I said, I will be very happy, because I don't have anything, I don't have children going to school or as yet. So I will be happy to move if you want me to move. So they immediately, got my H1 visa. Back then it was an H1 visa. And I moved to the US. We went from strength to strength to strength. And I'm talking about myself, but there are many people involved in building up Ushacom, many teams, many other folks that were also instrumental. Ole being very, very instrumental. Again, look at Ole. He figured out how to be successful, and he figured out how to pick the right people to be successful. And we took Ushacom from almost nothing to $40 million within a span of a couple years. and it was, and Basan Jhawar was ecstatic, and because it was his idea, right? That if you and his statement was, तुम लोग से अमेरिका में नहीं होगा, गोरा लोग से होगा, and that's exactly what worked out. And when I think about it, गोरा लोग से हुआ, but ultimately it needed people like us as well. So again, it was a joint effort. गोरा लोगों ने कुछ किया, हम लोगों ने कुछ किया, and then we took the company. So, I after that, it's a very mundane story. I've been in corporate America forever. I went from at this point. My guilt or my imposter syndrome had completely gone away. I know a lot of you are very accomplished IIT graduates and IIMs and very, very accomplished people. Bhaiya has told me about you. And I'm not. But by that time, I had people that worked for me that had gone to IITs and IIMs. And I'm not saying this to kind of demean anybody, by no means. It is more to state that just like water, if you have a little bit of potential, and if the physics works, if there is gravity, you will find a way. And I did. And that is my story. I will hand it back to the moderator. I think someone has a hot mic, by the way. So, Arun Bhaiya, if you're still there, or Rakesh ji, if you're there, I'm going to pass it back to you guys.
Rajeev, can you hear me?
I can hear you, sir.
I am Dr. Rajchandra Jha from Ranchi.
Oh, how nice to meet you.
Yes, I'm a regular on this platform, and I had a bit of introduction about you.
Yes, sir.
And I was really impressed, and the way you talk. I really love this session. I have a little problem today. Today is my wife's birthday, and the cake cutting and the cake cutting ceremony. Cake cutting ceremony is waiting for. But I said no, I cannot miss this evening's what we call human library session. We don't know each other as yet. We will have occasions to know.
Yeah.
So as Arunji in his introduction to this evening's topic had said that we can share our experiences. So I, without taking permission from the moderator or the anchor for this evening, I am the first one who will share my experiences, which is not very different. I'm not as big as you are these days. Big is a term that has many connotations and permutations. But I have come up in life from a very modest, rather very modest beginning. My father was a teacher. He was with us even 9 months back. I lost him last June. He started his career as a teacher in a primary school with a salary of 105 rupees per month. And we were three brothers, two brothers and sister. My younger brother is also a doctor. He's a cardiologist. I'm an orthopedic surgeon. And you mentioned two things. I think I would have loved to have more time talking to each other and sharing my experience. But two mentions stuck with me. One is having an experience with an AC chamber. I first had the experience of an air conditioner in a cinema hall in Kolkata, Hind Cinema. And the first movie that I saw there was Milan, Sunil Dutt and Nutan. Wow. I said, oh, how can this technology in my life, can I ever afford an air conditioner in my home? It's so soothing, so comfortable. In Kolkata's Gaurav.
Right.
And incidentally, I was born and brought up in Kolkata. I joined medical college here and stayed back.
I see.
The other one that you mentioned was walking.
Yeah.
I was, you said you were not at the top, but what I was at the top of my class all through my care. And my teachers in my school had a lot of expectations from me, and I was supposed to top it was then higher secondary, Uchchatar Madhyamik.
Mm-hmm.
So they used to call me to their residences to teach me more than what was being taught in classes. And I used to live at a place called Bajbaj, and my school was 28 kilometers from my home.
Oh.
So commuting 28 kilometers through a bus and then through the local trains, commuting from Bajbaj to Baliganj and going to my teacher's place, walking almost 60 kilometers to save 4 naya paise or 6 naya paise. If you remember those days in Kolkata, tram fares were so cheap.
Exactly.
So that was my experience. And and in a school where I was put in by my father, they were all millionaires. Some of them are still very good friends of mine. Their parents, their background was so strong, but I never felt that I was inferior to them, maybe because I was the best and the brightest in my class.
Perfect.
And then my father decided for me that I had to become a doctor. I did. He decided it for my younger brother. He became a doctor. We are doing okay. यहाँ की भाषा में. But we are not at all ashamed of our beginning and the modest background we have.
Yeah.
So this human library session on our platform is about personal experiences.
Yeah.
And today's evening was wonderful, to say the least. And St. Xavier's, yes, you talk well. And thank you very much. And excuse me, because if I don't leave now, I may be deprived of dinner on my wife's birthday. that will be.
Happy birthday to her. Namaste. Namaste.
Thank you, Rajeev. আবার দেখা হবে, কথা বলবো, অনেকগুলো কথা বলার আছে, হ্যাঁ?
Absolutely,
Okay.
absolutely.
I
খুব ভালো লাগলো আপনার সঙ্গে কথা বলে।
হ্যাঁ, with the permission of the moderator for the evening, may I now exit this platform for this evening.
Thank you, Dr.
আবার দেখা হবে।
Rajeev is the best summing up person that we have. He always sums up best. So thank you, Dr. Jha. Thank you for their regards to your wife and congratulations to both of you. Now, if somebody has a question or an input, please raise your hand.
Thank you, Arunji, for bringing Rajeev on this platform. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I mean, now people who attended the session and hopefully those who would see the recording, they would know why I had called Rajeev. From my side, I would wait Rajeev for other people to raise their hands. Yeah. And since I'm not able to see any hands right now, from my side, I would just say one thing. If I had to give a title to this session, I would call it character. I mean, I know this word has been defined and will be discussed in many ways, but everybody, no matter how he or she defines the word, to my mind, the one word that came was character. Nothing more to say.
Thank you, Bhaiya.
Dipankar Da has raised the hand. Dipankar Da, please unmute yourself, maybe, and go ahead, sir. Dipankar Da.
Dada, you're muted.
I think someone else wants, Kumar Pravesh, I think he wants to speak. Go ahead, sir.
Yes, Kumar.
I think we can wait for Dada first. In case he's not able to come in, then we will ask Kumarji.
Yeah.
Dipankar Da, you have raised your hand. Okay. Yeah. I think we have Mr. Mradumeshji also and Kumar. So maybe Kumarji, you can bring up your question and then we'll go to Mr. Mradumesh.
Namaskar. I have unmuted myself. Can I talk? Rajesh, Rakesh, can I speak now?
Yes, yes, you can go ahead, Dada.
First thing, Rajiv, it was a great story, and you are one of the best storytellers I've seen in my life.
Thank you, sir.
Very, very nice communication. I have just one small, silly question. Do you remember the gentleman who taught you flowcharting?
His name was, yeah, I do remember him. I can't recall his name as such.
Oh, you lost touch with him.
Yeah, no, I have lost touch with him. Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
He was
He
a
actually
Muslim.
flowcharted your life.
He did. He did. Thank you very much. He did flowchart my life, and I wish I could go back and meet him. He was, a fantastic guy. He was a fantastic guy, and very soft spoken, very well mannered, and he did flowchart my life. You're right. I mean, he was one of the cornerstones and turning points in my life too. Yes.
Okay. Thank you. I don't have any other question. Congratulations for your story
Thank you,
of the
sir.
life.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Kumarji, we'll go to you now.
Fine. Oh, sorry, video is not there. Yeah. Namaskar, Rajiv. My name is Kumar Ram Pravesh. I have a Arunji. We have a surprising guest also. The ex DGP of UP, Mr. OP Singh, is with me, and I think you could see him now.
Yeah.
Yes. Namaskar.
Namaskar.
So we joined a little later, like the end part we saw that. So I'll wait for the video of your story. Definitely, I'll be eagerly waiting for that. Uh, I think I don't have much to say, but the only thing was I wanted to know uh, how did you manage to tread to that path, which was little uncertain? You didn't, like you said, you went to US. We didn't know anything about it. So what was in your mind? What kind of a strategy was in your mind, and how
Yeah.
confident were you that I'll go and definitely crack something?
See, that's a very good question. I didn't have any strategy as such. I had confidence, and I will give you. I will narrate a story from my childhood that will probably give you an idea of how fortunate I have been and how I have led my life, not knowing what the next step is, but how I have led my life in forward thinking. And it sounds pompous, so I want to be, I'm not trying to brag, but I'm just trying to tell you what I think worked in my favor. When, say, for example, when I was in St. Xavier School, I I was in preparatory class when the first in the first month, my father wrote a check and gave it to me, saying that go and pay your school fees. So he was busy, as most our parents were at that time. Yeah, he had no time to go to the school, pay the fees himself. He gave it to me. Now, it's not a big deal, but you think about it, that it instilled multiple things. His confidence in me that I wouldn't lose the check, his confidence in the fact that I would figure it out, his confidence that I would be able to go pay my fees. Like, I'm a preparatory class little boy, right? I mean, little, not even a boy, a toddler back then. So he gave it to me and I did that. And the fact is, I mean, uh, I have a younger brother. When I was in first grade and my brother was in preparatory class, my father would still give the check to me because I was the for him it was like I'm just using my elder son to do it, because if I give it to my younger son, he'll probably lose it. So he might lose it. So let me give it to the elder one. And that has been a fortune for me forever. And all my life, all my young life, he would do that. I mean, there was a time I remember, he asked me to go fill up petrol in his car. And he said, just carry my wallet. And his wallet, I realized that, back in the day when they got the salary, they would have the entire salary. And his entire salary was in that wallet, and he gave it to me. So that confidence, I think the education that my father gave me, that you have to be responsible and accountable, not saying a word about it, just doing it, has probably given me the confidence and the prudence to say, well, kal jo hoga dekh lenge. And that is probably, I give that credit to my parents completely. And again, like I said, I'm not trying to brag. I'm just answering your question the best way I can.
Right. Thank you. And with the permission of Arunji, Arunji, am I audible to you?
Yes, yes. Please go ahead, Ram Praveshji.
So on your behalf, maybe can I request our great friend OP to come on this platform later sometime and share
Please
his.
go ahead. We do not need any.
I'm taking.
Please go ahead.
I'm
Please go
actually
ahead.
blackmailing him, emotionally blackmailing him to take this opportunity. So please, OP's, your platform is yours.
Good evening, Arunji. In any case, we are going to meet tomorrow. But thank you so much for giving me an opportunity to be, to be on this platform today. And I listened to what Mr. Rajeev talked about his journey of life. In fact, I was halfway when I switch on the mobile phone. I have just one simple question. I was listening to you very intently, and I really got impressed the way you narrated the entire story. Life is lived by the moments. Moments are very, very important. And normally, an individual remembers those moments which are dear to him, and they don't remember the bad moments. My question, a simple question to you is, did you have any plan B in your career when you were struggling? Because that's very, very important. And very intelligent people, they always keep plan B for that. And what was your plan B and how were you going to do it?
So the plan B, it's very interesting that you asked, and I forgot to mention this. And I did mention it to Arun Bhaiya when I was in his house about 10 days back. When my father gave me the 10,000 rupees and I was actually roaming about, my plan B, or actually my plan A, was to purchase an auto rickshaw. Because I had to, I knew that my father was struggling. He had nothing else going for him. So, not a plan B, it was the plan A. And I actually talked to a couple auto rickshaw, people, exactly the same human being that I was, and similar in age, maybe a little older than me. And some of them told me that it is going to be a very hard life. You have to deal with gundas. You have to deal with people that take your money away, your hard-earned money away at the end of the day, and so on. So all of those pieces of information led me to do further research in what else I could do. So my plan B or plan A was actually an auto rickshaw, which luckily, unluckily, I don't know what would have happened. It's again journey of water, like I said. If you have the potential or a little bit of potential, and if gravity is on your side, then you find a way. And I think, in many ways, I think life would have been different, but maybe I would have reached somewhere else altogether. But that was the plan B. Thanks for that question.
Thank you. Thank you.
Had somebody else raised the hand? I'm not able to see. Or
Mridumeshji,
somebody else wants to come? Yeah, please.
Mridumeshji has raised his hand.
Please
Mridumeshji,
unmute yourself. Yeah, please unmute yourself and go ahead, Mridumeshji. Mridumeshji, if you can hear us, please raise your hand. Sorry, please unmute yourself and go ahead.
I think he sent a message saying he might have to leave. I don't know whether he has left already. He says, my first
Okay.
session, it was useful, blah, blah. And he goes on to say that I will have to leave.
Okay. Then we have
Yeah, he
Dr.
says
Anju.
that. Yeah.
Yeah. Dr. Anju Karan has raised the hand. So please, ma'am, go ahead, unmute yourself and go ahead.
Sir, he has actually asked a question in the chat before leaving. He
Okay.
says, what will be his message to others starting on a similar journey? He's asking you, Rajiv, what would be your message to others who are starting on a similar journey?
Okay, and he just wrote saying, I'm unmuted, I can hear you, but you can't hear me. So Mridumesh ji, thanks for that question. And again, I will be very honest, it sounds very pompous for me to give advice to anyone. What I can relate from my past is that I never lost hope. Actually, frankly speaking, I never gave losing hope even a thought ever. So it was, I have always looked for opportunities. And if I found an opportunity, I definitely banged on it. So I have not let one opportunity pass by. I may have left opportunities that I did not identify pass by, but I have not let one opportunity that I could convert pass by me. So if I were to have the opportunity to mentor even one young man or young woman like me when I was back in my early career, I would say that look forward and look at the next 10 years of your life and think what you could do with the opportunity that you are facing right now. It might be very hard to imagine that you can actually grab that opportunity. But if you didn't try, then you already lost the opportunity. So if you try, out of 5, you might get 1. But if you did not try, the number of opportunities that would convert would be 0. So that would be my statement, or that would be my advice to a young person.
Great, Rajiv. Probably this is the line of the session. Yeah. So Anju, and, just one line, just 2 seconds. Sorry, 5 seconds. You did say in the session, Rajiv, that I would not talk about this session as a sad person or a person who had struggled a lot. That again was a very strong message for anybody, or even to, and the answer to Mr. Ropi is saying that yes, of course, it's very important to see the opportunities that you missed or what were the negative aspects of your life. But I remember Rajiv's father telling me many years back when I went to see him in Kolkata, he had told me, you have struggled so much, nothing shows on your face. And
That's right.
I still remember that. So it's a
Yeah.
very good thing. Now, Anju ma'am, please go ahead. Unmute yourself and go ahead.
So, Rajiv ji, good evening.
Ji.
This was a
Good
very
evening.
good session. Your
Thank you.
journey was it was awesome. And with so many roller coaster in your life. But on the whole, you seem to be a very successful person. I also I come from Ranchi only. I belong to
Oh,
Ranchi,
very
and
nice.
we don't have anything, no ups and downs like that in our life. It was a very simple life. I was born and brought up at Ranchi, studied there in Ursuline Convent, then St. Xavier's College, then RIMS. It was not RIMS at that time, it was RMCH.
Mm-hmm.
So did my
Wow.
graduation, my post-graduation. Everything was very smooth. Nothing like your life roller coaster and ups and downs. So it's
Yeah.
nothing to say, but your life is really wonderful.
Thank
Okay,
you. Thank you.
that's all. Thank you.
I have been very fortunate. And really speaking,
Mm.
madam, when I look back, it seems like a
Mm.
roller coaster. But every day was like a flat life. And when I look back and narrate it to myself, I realize that I've gone through huge roller coasters. But as I was
I know.
traveling through it, it didn't feel like that at all.
This this is your confidence. This is your confidence. This
Thank
has
you.
brought you here.
Thank you. I
Welcome.
appreciate that.
Thank
Pankaj, Pankaj, please unmute yourself and go ahead.
Yes, yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you for the wonderful session. It was quite inspiring. And in fact, I do say that there is a paradox in our psychology or anywhere. Life seems very random in the forward direction, but very deterministic backward.
Good.
So the point is, we tend to think very linearly that we do this, we do this at this age, we have to do this, and then that's a very linear thinking of mind that we think. But my own life, if I compare, I don't have a very great academic background, and in fact, I don't like academic background. I very boldly say that because I don't need that. And today, I very humbly I say that I work with some of the top-notch people in the world very closely, and they appreciate me, they acknowledge me, and I really, I have in fact worked with Nobel laureates.
Wow.
But I didn't have a very great academic background, and I again tell that I don't like that because that used to confine my thinking, and I never liked that. Okay. I remember I was also in Ranchi, and I didn't used to go. I didn't. I used not to go to school often. Okay. So my teacher used to say that uh, uh, he used to give me numbers because there were some students who used to torture teacher, means by asking some different questions and all those things. So in fact, I used to help my teacher when some students used to disturb them by asking a different type of questions.
Mhm.
So my teacher used to feel very protective at that time, and even if I didn't, I used not to go to school quite often, but they used to give me numbers and all those things because they know that I used to go to British Library in Ranchi, used to study the whole from morning to evening and all those time in Ranchi only. I'm talking about because I personally didn't like this academic and all those things too much because when I was in class 11, 12, I used to study the physics and mathematics of class MSc or something like that. And I remember that I used to write paper. I used to write paper at that time only. And I used to send papers to some of the top-notch people around the world randomly. I'm saying, okay. So what I'm saying that this 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 psychology that even that we think that we should do this, we have to do IIT and although I have very much respect for these coveted institutions. But today, when I see backward, I think that everyone has a different journey. So one should not feel very demotivated that I didn't go to IIT or something like that. Because everyone has a different life very non-linear, very complex. Because there are numerous examples that have a very tortuous life and they went at the top. Okay.
Yeah,
So so
absolutely.
so 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 that's all I would like to say that one should not get discouraged. There is always a way, and
Yeah.
I say that like in physics we see there are different paths. Okay.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
not so linear as we think. So I really
Absolutely.
that it's quite an encouraging session for everyone who think that one can actually learn from your session that how life can be. Okay.
Yeah.
And that I see practically in my life only. Okay. So thank you once
Absolutely.
again.
Thank you, Pankaj. So just to tell you, I mean, opportunities and things that you do, yeah, and like for example, over the last couple years, I am learning to fly. I'm a pilot right now. I'm a recreational pilot. I'm working on a private pilot's license as well right now. So I have a recreational pilot's license. I'm working on a private pilot's license. The point is, you just have to you have to put an ambition at some point and say ye karna hai, and it doesn't matter whether it is going to be fruitful or immediately pay you back or not. You do stuff because you want to get yourself slightly better than what you were yesterday. And it sounds very uh, what should I say? It doesn't sound right for me to say that academics may be overrated because I don't have a great academic background, and a lot of people have great academic background. But in my opinion as well, I think it's a mix of a lot of things. Academics definitely gives you a jumping off point. After that, what you do with that academics is all up to you, all up to us, frankly. So, I do think that it is slightly overrated. The amount of emphasis that we put on academics, but then it doesn't come very well coming from me, who doesn't have a great academic background. So, I do acknowledge that as well.
Thank you.
Thank you very
Thank you,
much.
Pankaj. I think Pankaj also has put a very powerful input, very, very powerful input to my
Yes.
mind. So anybody else there asking for a question or giving an input? So if not, I think already we are time past. With Rakesh's permission, I would like to sum it up. Rakesh, can I sum it up?
Yeah, please go ahead, Arunji.
Yeah. Rajeev, I think you are in the group. And those who are not in the group, like Mr. Ropi Singh, we have a group called Learning Together. In the group, I had mentioned that please attend Rajiv's session, because I was very, very sure, and I wrote that his life story will trigger many life stories from their lives. They will trigger many, and it's very, very obvious that they did. So I hope somebody else offers to take his life story session with us. Please do come up. And last but not the least, Rajiv, when I formed the session, my purpose or my vision was the younger ones. The younger
Yes.
ones I had defined between 25 to 40, who were not able to find time for many things, including revisiting their own internal self, internal mind space or life.
Yeah.
And I'm very, very sure that there's at least one young person who is there, and others who are not there today, but they watch the session. I'm 100% sure that they will take one thing or the another definitely from your session. So
Thank you,
Raju,
sir.
thank you for accepting my request and take
I'm
a
sir.
session for us.
I'm also below 40. Sir.
Yeah,
So
I want
you
to be
were in
below 40, missed it by almost 20 years now. So we all want to be there in that domain.
Carulous person that I am habitually, I'll tell a story. There was an Afghan person who got convicted for murder, and he was imprisoned for 20 years. He was imprisoned when he was 20. So when
Okay.
he came out of the prison at 40, people asked him, "How old are you?" He said, "I am 20. How come you are 20? He said, "The 20 years I spent in jail, they are not life. That is not life. So my life starts at 20. I hope all of
Absolutely.
us start our life at 25 or 20, and probably, if not becoming a pilot, they do whatever they wish to do at this
Yes.
point of time when they are 20.
Yeah.
One more story. I think it was about Socrates when he was about to die in the prison. He was 3 days before he was to be given the poison. He was asking a fellow prisoner who was singing a song to teach him to sing that song. So the prisoner tells him, "You are going to die 3 days later. Why do you want to learn the song?" Socrates says, "I want to die learning one more thing."
Great. Exactly. That's my point as well.
Wonderful.
So Rajiv and everybody else who attended the session or who would like to see the session, thank you very, very much. This was an amazing journey, Rajiv.
Thank
Thank
you.
you very
Thank you
much.
so much, sir.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Rajiv.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Priya. Really appreciate everybody.
Thank you, Raju. It
Thank
Thank
was
you.
you.
Thank you.
wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Wonderful session.
Rakesh, you have to add something or anything before you switch off the recording? Rakesh?
Actually, a lot of parallels and a lot of things which I could relate to in what Rajiv said. I also have, Rajiv, I have also been, when I was asked to do, learn typing. So I also know ASDFJF, semicolon LKJHJ. And
Yes.
actually that helped me because, you can use the keyboard very well because of that. So that eventually helped me. And I think there were a lot of places where I could kind of empathize with you
Yeah.
in a lot of spots. And I think that degree point is absolutely true. I think increasingly most organizations are also realizing they are not kind of so much worried about what degree one gets, so long
Yeah.
as kind of hi. Basically, so long as the person does the job. So some of the
Yeah,
biggest MNCs also. So I think
ex-
that's wonderful. One thing what I think Arunji said, character. So you kind of going through that interview, getting through it, but realizing that your baby will suffer if you were to leave that, and therefore kind of not going ahead and staying with the thing and kind of finishing it off.
yeah,
That speaks a lot. I mean, that's a huge takeaway in
yeah,
anybody's career. One is to take that immediate short-term jump. The other
yeah,
is to really look at whether you're doing the right thing, that that kind of moral compass being there. And
exactly.
second one, I mean, you realizing that opportunity. One is to see that there is an opportunity. Second is to make it happen,
Yes,
against a lot of the disbelief that
yeah,
people would say, have you gone mad? And you still go ahead and you do it and you make it happen. I mean, that defines. So I think those are the takeaways for me. So thank you
yeah.
so much. I mean, it was a very moving session. And I think you are very well placed to offer advice. None of it needs to come with any kind of disclaimers or qualifications. I think a lot of people will benefit if you just kind of give it away, because it's hard earned and hard learned. So I think you could possibly do it without a lot of hesitation. So thank you so much. I have learned a lot today.
I appreciate that, sir. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
So did I, Rakesh. We had a discussion in my house, which was the preamble to the session today. That day I learned many things he said today, which he did not say that day. It was another set of learnings for me also, Rajiv.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And and in your place, it was a very emotional time, and my mother had just passed, and also there was so much conversation, so much affection from Bhabhi, which so it was a mixed conversation that day. I think today was very, very focused on the background itself.
So Rakesh can stop the recording, and we can continue. Those who wish to continue, let the recording stop. So somebody else has to say something. He can still say, notwithstanding the time that has gone. For me, it is just 5 minutes. I don't think it was more than 5 minutes since I started the session.
Yeah, it will just take me a minute to stop the recording.
Yeah, sure. Of course, why not? Actually, Rajiv's life itself is a lesson. I mean, I learned a lot. Rakesh learned a lot, and I'm very sure most of us learned a lot. So this life story itself is a session. But of course, I would agree with Rakesh